What if I told you that reality is constantly trying to speak to you, but you've been trained to ignore it? Every single day, subtle messages are placed in your path, moments too precise to be accidents. The song that plays just as you're thinking of someone, the number that keeps following you everywhere, the stranger you randomly meet, who just happens to have the exact answer you were searching for. You brush them off as coincidences, but deep down, you've always felt there was something more. When you start recognizing the patterns, you start loving the story around you. You break free from the tensed feeling of future because you know just the right thing for you happens. Observe your life. Once internally asked question will be answered in a future time, and at that time it feels like everything fell into place. Have you ever had moments like that? The energy you put out really shapes your reality. But it took me years to understand how to use it in a practical way. Then I came across a book called The Black Protocol of Wealth. It helped me adjust my vibration and completely reprogram my subconscious. Since then, everything in my life has improved dramatically. Business is thriving, clients keep coming, and money flows from all directions. It's just amazing how powerful it is to shift our vibration. In this video, you'll learn how to start recognizing the signs and how to live in alignment with your true path, not to ignore them, but to finally see them. Carl Jung once said, "Synchronicity is a meaningful coincidence with no apparent causal connection." Think about it. The dream that comes before a life-changing event. The same word or symbol appearing again and again. That deep inner feeling guiding you just before a big decision. Some call it mysticism. Others understand. It's the language of the unconscious mind trying to speak to you. And the question is, are you listening? Most people don't live in their own reality. They live in a version of life that was handed to them by parents, by culture, by fear. They wake up every day with a quiet heaviness. They go to jobs they never truly chose. They stay in relationships that feel safe, even if they feel numb inside. They silence their intuition because it doesn't sound logical. She wanted to be an artist, but her family said it was foolish, so she became an accountant. Now she paints in secret at night and wonders why her life feels so empty. She knew the relationship was wrong 6 months in, but everyone said he's a good guy. So she stayed and stopped trusting her inner voice. She always felt pulled toward a different city, a different path, but she kept putting it off, convincing herself it wasn't the right time. Years passed, and that feeling never went away. Only deeper underground. That's the cost of not living in your own reality. You become a character in someone else's script, and every day the real you fades just a little more. She had always felt it, that quiet tug in her chest every time she saw pictures of the coast, that strange ache when the train passed through cities she had never lived in. A part of her belonged somewhere else. She just didn't know where or why. She lived in a small town her whole life. Same grocery store, same street, same conversations. People called it stability, but to her it felt like a cage with invisible walls. Then things started happening. One morning she saw a billboard with the name of a city she had secretly Googled 100 times. At a bookstore, a stranger struck up a conversation and mentioned he had just moved from that exact city. A job opportunity popped up, remote work, flexible hours. Still, she hesitated. Her mother said, "You'll regret leaving." Her friend said, "It's just a phase." Her own mind whispered, "What if you fail?" Then one night, after a long day of pretending she was fine, she walked home and passed a wall where someone had spray painted, "If you don't go now, you never will." That was it. She packed 2 suitcases and bought a one-way ticket. The first few weeks were terrifying. She cried in silence, But then, something shifted. She started waking up with energy again. She made friends who saw her, really saw her. She laughed louder, felt freer, trusted herself again. And one day, walking through her new neighborhood, she realized none of it was a coincidence. Her soul had been calling her for years. She just finally decided to listen. You are constantly presented with a choice: to live in resistance to your inner world or in synchrony with it. Carl Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Synchronicity is not magic. It is the reflection of internal processes manifesting externally, the psyche expressing itself through patterns, symbols, and chants. When you ignore these signals, life becomes noisy, fragmented, full of false starts. You feel lost, not because life is random, but because you've silenced the very part of you that sees the deeper order. To synchronize with your path is not to wait passively. It is to become radically attentive to meaning, to listen not with your ears, but with your psyche. The shift begins when you stop dismissing your perceptions as irrational and start understanding them as data from a deeper intelligence within. As you align with what is truly yours, the chaos doesn't disappear, but it begins to organize itself around your inner structure. In Jung's words, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. And awakening means this: you stop chasing control and start practicing awareness. Now imagine this: a life where every day holds meaning, where your choices no longer feel like guesses, but reflections of something deeper, something aligned. You stop asking, "Am I doing the right thing?" And instead, you feel a quiet certainty whispering, "I know." Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And becoming yourself is not a single moment. It's a daily act of returning to your instincts, to your intuition, to the truth you buried under roles, fears, and expectations." Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes, the author of Women Who Run with the Wolves, wrote, "The doors to the world of the wild self are few but precious. If you have a deep scar, that is a door. If you have an old story, that is a door. Your pain is a door. Your longing is a compass. Your resistance is a map of where you're meant to go. And as you begin to listen, really listen, you'll notice something strange. The world will respond, because it always has. You just weren't tuned to the frequency of your own truth. Marianne Williamson said, "Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking. So don't shrink. Don't apologize for feeling called to something more. This is your invitation, not to become someone else, but to return to you. And once you do, nothing will ever feel like a coincidence again." It's no coincidence you're watching this right now. Deep down, you already know what needs to change. Say it out loud in the comments. That's how synchronicity begins. Our programming says seeing is believing, when the reality is believing is seeing. I did everything they told me. Journals, affirmations, breathwork, manifestation rituals. I followed every guru, every strategy. I even tried quantum jumping for a while, thinking it would shift everything. I was so busy manifesting, I didn't realize how stuck I actually was. Nothing changed until I stopped trying to change. I kept adding more practices, more steps, more methods, but it only kept me running in circles. Then someone handed me a book. At first, I ignored it. It sat on my shelf for months. But when I finally opened it, I realized it wasn't giving me new techniques. It was showing me how I'd been missing the point all along. The Law Behind the Laws by Owen Hermstring didn't promise me anything. It just made me see what I couldn't see before. If you feel like you've been doing all the right things, but nothing seems to shift, maybe it's time to stop doing and start seeing. Not everyone will get it. But if you're tired of spiritual performance, this might just be the wake-up call you need.